If you think your story isn't big enough to build a business, this episode would change your mind. Now, in our last episode, I shared with you the biggest opportunities for educators who are ready today to transition their skills into a profitable coaching business. And if you miss it, go ahead and watch the thing, man. Now, in this episode, I'll be bringing on a few of my friends who are professional speakers and two-time TEDx speakers to unveil the secrets of what it literally takes to become a TEDx speaker this year. Now, if this is your first time here, my name is ProfDaddyJOY, and my goal with this series is to convince seasoned educators that transitioning their existing skills as an educator into a profitable coaching business is the key to living a life of freedom, impact, and purpose and income. Now, I have a special gift for you. Before I forget, go ahead and grab your Escape the Classroom Business Accelerator kit by going to escapetheclassroom.kit.com/gift. Go and grab the thing, man. Let me say that again: escapetheclassroom.kit.com/gift. And without any further ado, here is how to become a TEDx speaker. What does courageous communication means to you? Yeah, what does courageous communication means to you?
Well, I think that's an op title for what nervous speakers do, right? Nervous speakers must be very courageous when they communicate and step on the stage. So, in my opinion, we've all been there. I think sometimes before we get on the stage, we're all you said courageously communicate.
Courageous communication, yeah.
Yeah, courageous communication. So I think we all go through this courageous moment while we're communicating. The moment before we step on stage, the moment we are about to step on stage, the night before when we think about stepping on stage, especially if it's going to be a TEDx, but being able to fight through that lack of courage and communicate such a way that you're able to inspire. That's what courageous communication means to me. Still being able to inspire when you're communicating, even though in the pit of your stomach, it's flipping.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's interesting when you say that when the pit of your stomach is flipping, it doesn't really matter how much time you step onto that stage. There's always that feeling in your stomach that is flipping. And I want to ask this one question to Cynthia. Yeah, when you step onto the red dot, like what is the first thought that goes through your mind?
You mean the moment when I stood on the TEDx stage?
Correct.
Okay. I couldn't remember anymore. But I think I was usually before I got on any stage, I would still have a little bit nervousness. But the moment I stood on the stage, usually it's not much in my mind, but to deliver my message. So I think when I'm on the stage, I am very present. I think that's what matters. And also is the similar answer to your first question, is that whenever we're speaking, it's not about us. It's about what kind of impact can you bring to people, to the audience. If you have that in mind, then even if you're not courageous enough or not creative enough, you have to train yourself to be courageous or creative, because it's not for you, it's for the audience.
That is so powerful. You know, it's not for you, it's for the audience. And you know, one thing that this didn't come as a surprise to me. Maybe a year from now it would have came as a surprise, but even professional speakers, we still feel that nerves. And I know one of the things that stop a lot of new speakers is that fear, yeah, that nerve that we feel before stepping on. And something is telling me that is also a part of the recipe. Yeah, that being able to build the muscle to still feel that and do it anyway. Like Colin said, yeah, that's the act of courage. And my warm question to Dasso would be, what did you remember at the end of your last TEDx speech? What was the thought that you had at the end of your TEDx speech?
I want to go eat. I seriously wanted to go eat. Well, to be honest, like maybe it's because I don't know about Colin, but and then you, Dino. But as female, we also very conscious about our appearance as well when we're on the TEDx. So I was really strict on my meal plan. So when it all finished, like, what am I gonna eat for dinner?
That's a surprising answer to me. I'm curious to know if Colin, you had similar thoughts at the end of your speech.
Well, let me say, I was there when Dad was finished. I remember you guys went to eat after. So I do
Yeah, we
remember,
did. We did.
I do remember that. That's true. My first thought was, damn it, I forgot a line. Right. I had a good line too. And I forgot part of my speech. I always do. I had a great line too at the end, and I totally forgot to say it. And I was like,
Mm.
ah.
I don't care how many lines I forgot. I just gotta eat.
Yeah.
That's so interesting you mentioned about forgetting a line. I'm not sure how much of if any of you else forget a line like Colin did, but I practiced so much for my speech. And then when I went back and looked and saw I forgot a line, like that during that moment, I beat myself up so much about it. And then it hit me that wait a minute, the audience don't know your speech.
Yep.
Only you know your speech.
Only
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
you.
they
Yeah.
didn't know you
exactly.
Only you.
forget a line. So you actually
Yep.
didn't forget a line. Yeah. And it happens, right? It happens. So I'm curious, Cynthia, if you had any similar experience.
Yes. So for my, of course, I have made all the mistakes probably most people have made. For my first TEDx speech, when I came out and I realized, oh, there were actually two important lines that I forgot to say. And then after that, I thought it's okay, even though they are important, but the entire speech is important. So
Mm,
even if
Exactly.
I, yes, even if I said those two lines, probably they won't remember. So
yeah.
even for the entire speech, I said word by word, people only take what matters to them, what they remembers.
Mm,
So
yeah.
most of the time, it's the speaker's perfection syndrome that is bothering them. So
Mm.
over the years, I've learned that imperfection is perfect.
Mm. Amen to that. Amen to that. And while you're speaking, Cindy, I actually have a question here I've prepared for you. And you've coached voice from over 56 countries, which is incredible. And I just want to say congratulations. Yeah, a lot of time we don't, celebrate these things. This is a really big feat. Was there any single coaching moment that forever changed your understanding of human voice? Because for us as speaker, our voice is our tool, and the way how we think about our voice is different from the average person. So I'm curious to know if there was any particular coaching moment that changed your understanding of the human voice.
That was less in my coaching moments. It was more in my own voice transformational stage, where when I was transforming my own speaking voice, that's where I realized, oh my God, these are things that I've never thought about. No one has ever taught us how to use our voice properly. So it was more in my own study of and transforming my own voice.
Mm, mm. Now you want me to dig a bit deeper. Now I'm getting even more curious. Yeah, because
Sure.
a lot of what before getting into speaking, I never really pay attention to my voice, like tonality, volume. So I'm curious, what was that process that you went through to transform your voice? Because at first, before I even met you, I could have tell there's something special about your voice. So now I'm getting the idea that it wasn't always like that. There are things that you have done intentionally to get it there. So I'm curious, what was some of the things that you have done personally that got your voice to this stage?
Sure. For me, the reason that I needed to work on my voice was not for speaking, because that was before I became a speaker. It was more in my early years as a fresh graduate in the workforce. I was being bullied. Now people don't believe that I was being bullied. Maybe I look too aggressive, too assertive, not aggressive,
The
too
power of
assertive.
your voice.
So I was not very assertive. That was the reason that I needed to work on assertiveness. And when I was learning different ways of being assertive, voice was just one of the areas that I stumbled upon. So I learned with voice actors. And when I transformed my own voice, that's where I realized, wow, the speaking voice has so much potential. It was not only helping me sound more assertive, more confident, more powerful, I felt more powerful. So I think that was one key thing that I worked on. Voice was a side benefit.
Mm. That's so impressive. You know, made me thinking back when I was 16, I accidentally slipped into performing arts, and I accidentally started working on my voice not knowing. And now I'm thinking about you, I like connecting your voice training with your confidence. And now I'm thinking, oh wow, maybe that's what gave me my confidence as well. Yeah, being able to project my voice and being able to be a part of stand-up. So thank you so much for sharing that. That's such a nugget. Yeah, changing your voice can be such a powerful tool, and yeah, it's something that each of us have at our disposal. Now I have this question for you, Colin. Yeah, like Colin, you have moved from Jamaica to later striving here in China. I'm curious, which culture value most shape your leadership philosophy?
Ooh. Well, I was born in Canada to Jamaican parents and Jamaican siblings. So even though I was in ice cold Toronto, inside the house was very much rich in Jamaican culture. I'm not sure that my leadership skills came from there. My leadership skills came a lot later when I was working for IBM and I was a terrible manager and didn't know that. Um, Now that was when I first arrived in China back in 2006 in Shenzhen, China. I'm leading a local team, and back then now my cultural EQ was terrible. So I came here thinking the way to do things is the American way to do things. And if you're not doing things the American way, then you're just not working. But just through the pain that I put my team through and what I learned from more mature other foreign managers, that's where I learned more about leadership, servant leadership, really being a part of the team you're leading, really not being a manager, being a leader. And again, more servant leadership. So by sort of stumbling with my team first, and then just being more mature in general and not wanting to be the hard head and realizing, hey, there are several different ways of doing the same thing. So I think just by trying to cultivate my team better and just really be a better team member, I became I became a more empathetic leader. So I think learning a lot more from my peers, a lot more from my Chinese team members as well. That's where I would say I got I'm going to say my very soft and empathetic approach to leadership from.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. You know, one of the thing that we tend to discount is how much courage it takes to change when you come to a new cultural space. Yeah, sometimes it may look easy from the outside, but when you're in a new cultural environment, not only your identity, your values are being challenged in situation like that. And we know that change as coaches, we know that change is hard. That's why we have a job, right? We are change managers more or less.
Right.
And I'm really curious, Colin, what was that specific moment that made you know that, you know what, if I don't change, the outcome of not changing is worse than the benefit of it. Like, what was that epiphany that you got personally back then as
Well,
a manager?
it came in a different way. I got to Shenzhen in 2006. I was there for 4 years. I would say my third year in, one of my closest friends, name was Michael Shao. Michael Shao, and he was a team member. I was his manager. And he was my closest friend. And one day we were at lunch with Colin. Man, I love you, man. You know, we're cool, yada, yada, yada. But you're a terrible manager. And he just said it so honestly. He goes, man, I will go out with you, but you're a terrible manager, man. And I gotta tell you, we don't like you, you know? And in Shenzhen, because nobody's from Shenzhen, co-workers spend time outside of work together because they go to university together, the deeper friendship. So that was like a wake up call for me because he's very outspoken, and that's where I said, you know, Mike, I see how you guys get along. I want to be part of that, and that's where I knew I had to start going with the flow and not working against it.
That's so powerful. That's so powerful. I believe that all of us need a sharpshooter like that, in our team, definitely. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. No, that's all. My question to you is very, yeah, I think it's very, very applicable to us being here. You have moved from multiple different industries with your career, and right now you're helping your clients do the same. And not only that, the multiple different languages that you speak as well. And I can tell that you have even that talent. Yeah. So, what fear whispered the loudest, and how did you talk back? Now, if you're still watching and listening, that means you're enjoying the episode. So go ahead, drop a comment, and let me know what you love about the episode. As I said, I'm double downing on YouTube, and this would be across all the major podcast platforms. So I'm not sure if I'm doing this right or not. And the only how I'll know is if you leave a comment and let me know. So thank you so much, and continue to enjoy the episode. Big up yourself. Listening from multiple different industries, yeah, not only from corporate and now running your own company. I'm curious, what fear whispered the loudest, and how did you talk back?
That's a very interesting question. Well, actually, I also delivered a similar. I'm answering the similar, in a way that my speech also share in the. I have my second TEDx in the day after tomorrow, and I'm sharing their more deeper story, the rooted. But definitely, I have a lot of self-doubt about myself, especially my languages skills. Like I'm good enough. I have a good enough Chinese language skills, but not. I cannot say I'm totally Chinese, and I can say I'm good enough English speakers. I'm not still not native. So when I was working in China, there was once upon a time that I was working at a consulting firm as an HR. I was the only foreigner there, and then Korean is not even needed there. I'm non-native Chinese speaker. I'm non-native English speaker, and is hiring non-Korean people using Chinese and English. And I was like having self-doubt. Like, why am I even here? All my colleagues are Chinese. So I went straight to my manager and asked her, "Why did you hire me? Why did you hire me?" Like I literally say that out loud because I couldn't understand that situation. And then she looked at me and said, "Because of who you are, Dasso. Because of who you are." And that's when I really got the message that I should stop focusing on, let's say, okay, I have language background, I have different industries background, but I should focus on who I'm becoming and who I want to become. So wherever I am, there are many ways that I can have self-doubts and I can compare myself with other selves. But more importantly, in this environment, what kind of person I want to grow into and who am I becoming? I think that's the most important thing. And that's my mantra. Who am I becoming in this situation? Even when I'm failed in multiple public speaking, I forget a lot of things. I still ask myself through this mistake. Even throughout my career journey, there are many mistakes, but I'm asking myself, what am I becoming? Who am I becoming? What am I learning from this situation? Yeah.
That's so good. That's so good. That's so good. That really reminds me of a lot of time we focus so much on the what. Yeah, we don't really focus on the who. Yeah, I love this quote. I think I heard it from Rich Litvin. He says that the goal is not the distant shore. The goal is who I'm becoming on the journey as I move towards the shore. And that's such a powerful lesson. I think even someone asked me today, one of my intern asked me if I was excited about the TEDx opportunity. And when I think back, I wasn't so excited at that point, actually, even though it's something that I wanted so much. However, what I realized is the process from going through to get to the stage is like the person who I had to become to step on that red dot. I think that's what I valued so much the most. Yeah, all the practice that I had to do, the rehearsals, coordinating with the team is like that was an entire production. And once you have that experience is inside you, it's like a few weeks ago I did a event with Colin and I was hosting. I told Dassel is like, like I'm not even, nervous or there's no anxiety. It's like I feel this silent confidence. And it just came from those process of doing it so much, or even being a part of processes like that. So that's so powerful. Who are you becoming? because sometimes we can get so distracted by, oh, I'm a TEDx speaker, I'm here, I did this speech, but then who are you as a result of going through the process? I think that's most important. Now I have another question, taking things back over to Cynthia. Yeah, Cynthia, many people think that having a strong voice equals loudness. I'm curious, what's the biggest myth you bust on day one when it comes to that?
So a lot of people, they came to me, they said, oh, Cynthia, I want to sound like who and who. Then when I checked that person out, I said, you probably don't want to become that person or have that person's voice, because that's not the properly projected voice. The properly projected voice and powerful voice is not a voice that's loud. So that is actually the first thing. Also, a lot of people say that, oh, I have a loud voice. I don't need to work on my voice. So having a loud voice is not a good voice. That will be the first myth that people want to break and have in mind, that a loud voice is not a good voice. Usually this is a loud voice. So a loud voice is higher pitched and improperly projected from here. Most of the times it pushes people away, and also doesn't really get your message across. So a really powerful voice is a voice, or even a good voice is a voice that's relaxed and also projected with the full body, not just from here. So those are some of the most common misconceptions people have.
Yeah. Yeah. When you said projected with the full body, I caught myself and I'm like, am I projecting my voice with my full body as I'm here, even when I'm on camera? Those are definitely some nuggets. Sometimes we can think that being loud means being powerful. Yeah, and sometimes it's that calm confidence that comes from the voice. Yeah, the tone, the pitch. Yeah, a voice is like an instrument, and we should be able to wield it that way. Now, my next question will be here for you, Colin. Colin, you blend life coaching with tech innovation forum, which is very, very interesting. These seem like these things are from two different worlds. Yeah, when you look at them from the outside. How do you tailor soft skills messages for hard tech audience?
Yeah, so and that's more of the mental fitness side of my coaching, where I try to help, let's say, developers who are under a tremendous amount of stress to really learn how to de-stress at the workplace. Especially in the last 3 to 4 years, there has been a tremendous push for more AI. And in the beginning, a lot of tech professionals were very nervous that AI was coming for their jobs. So how do they deal with the fear of AI? How do they learn how to work with AI? Now, luckily, my background is in IT, so I also spent many hours trying to debug. So I know what they're going through, and it's much more high pressure now. So through my studies as a mental fitness coach, I've learned different techniques and different frameworks to help not IT professionals, but I would say all mid-career professionals on how to, I say, remove the chaos from their mind and be able to operate at a higher level amongst that same chaos. So I try to, first of all, combat the IT professionals as I'm one of you, right? I know your journey. I'll share some painful stories that'll make them laugh first before I even go into the mental fitness, right? And especially here in China, where mental health, mental fitness isn't really a talked about topic, I have to find other ways. So instead of saying mental fitness, I'll say resilience, or I'll say coping strategies. So it's finding ways to still talk about the same topics, but putting it in language that wouldn't make them feel a little resistant to that topic. So again, I'm able to merge these two by understanding the techniques I want to use with mental fitness and positive intelligence, and then first coming to the IT professionals. And quite frankly, I'm going to the organizers first and giving them a topic that they're okay to present then to their community. So it's really first having a topic that doesn't um, cause friction to the organizers. And I got to tell you, it's not easy to do. I've had many a speech rejected. I've spoken 4 times at that TID conference, and each year it's my third or fourth topic that's accepted. So understanding exactly how to get your point across, because the developer, they want to hear these techniques, but you have to find a way to speak in their language and make sure it gets through that first gate, which is the organizers.
Yeah, that's such a powerful point, because even it's like there's this trade-off between what they want and what they need, right? It's like, as the professional, okay, this is what they need, but the organizers, they're trying to get seats on the butts and chairs. Yeah, and they want that particular hot, trendy topic. And I think that's the skill of being a really professional speaker. Yeah, being able to package these technical concepts into stories so that the audience can grasp them and understand. And sometimes some of my colleagues would say tech people are some of the hardest audience to keep engaged. Yeah, so I'm curious, are there any tips or things that you do to keep, because I heard you said in the beginning you use stories, yeah, to make it fun for them in the beginning. Is there any other tips when it comes to this specific group of audience that you use to get them more engaged, Colin?
Absolutely. Now, I think we all have our networks. So whether it's a financial convention, IT convention, health convention, talk to your colleagues who are in those industries and ask them, what would you want to hear about? Tell me some of your stories, because you can always find a similar story, whether it's working for a healthcare company, you have a project, IT company, the project, you have project pressure. So it's really going to people who you can imagine being in your audience and asking them, what's on your mind, right? What do you want to hear about? And then finding ways to merge your topics to fit their needs.
That's such a major key. That's such a major key. My gosh, that's so good. That's so good. I remember in 2019, my grandmom passed away, and I was asked to do the eulogy. Yeah, and I was a bit nervous about it, and that's exactly what I did actually. I went to all my aunts and just gather information from them, about her life story, and just put them all together, and it was such a wonderful experience. So it doesn't really matter whether you're giving it on the TED stage, whether you're giving a talk with a group of IT, group of finance people, you got to go and talk to the people themselves and get those nuggets so you can give it back to them. Wonderful, wonderful. That's all I have this question for you. Yeah. Career changers often ask, should I follow my passion or the paycheck? How do you reframe this binary for them?
Well, I thought today's talk was about TEDx. Well, that's very interesting. Um, I love, I want to quote this. I forgot. There is this podcast that I love to hear, The Diary of a CEO. And then it was one of the guest speaker, and he was saying, the best, he was asking, what's the best advice? Do what you're good at. What's the worst advice? Do what you love. So sometimes, passion comes from what you are good at, and what you're good at comes from passion. But many people, um, and in terms of career transition, I observed two different type. One type is really they want to grow more, but the environment where they are, it can be people, it can be company, cannot provide such environment for them, like nurturing environment or resources like that. Yeah, they need to change, and then they need to change their environment to grow further. However, there are a certain set of people who are like got a little bored or hit some bottom lines where, actually that's where the growth happens, but they're frustrated. And then they were like, okay, let me just forget about this and then just start new, start fresh, because they don't want to fail. And that's not what you call because you're quitting, because it's not my passion, it's not what I love. So very, very careful if this is just you playing small and safe, or this is actually your passion and you have certain direction. And it all comes back to when you ask yourself, okay, so in the end, who do you want to become? If you can't answer that question and then you just want to quit, then that's you just oh, this is my, it's not my fit for me, it's not good for me. You're just quitting for nothing. You need to be able to answer that who you want to become. If you quit, then what's the next direction? What is your North Star? You should have that before you quit anything.
Mm, mm. Yeah, yeah. Powerful lesson. Powerful lesson. Yeah. And I think it comes back to the idea of, who are you becoming? Yeah, what is your North Star? I know all three of you have stand on the TEDx stage. Yeah, and my question, this is a question for all three of you. What is the not one lesson that you can learn only after, giving your first talk? What was that one lesson for you? Yeah, let's start with Cynthia.
One lesson after I got on TEDx stages.
Yeah.
I think I didn't know that people see TEDx getting on TEDx stages as so important. Because only when I got on after it, and once the video was out, it was like, to me, it was okay. It was something that I've been thinking about it, and I did it. Then when people saw that, they said, oh, well, my God, wow, you get on TEDx stage. That's when I realized, okay, looks like this is something that people see it as very important. And if you are running your own business or is a coach or trainer, looks like that this will help you to elevate your authority level. So that was one main lesson that I learned. Now, when people ask me, should I get on TEDx stage? I say, yes, you should. So
Well, can I, because that was very interesting perspective, because I actually had the exact opposite perspective after the TEDx, and I was about to say that, but it was so interesting how we can perceive it differently. Because for me, after the TEDx, what I realized is, wow, nothing happens. Nothing changes. Nothing changes. And then like before TEDx was like so wow, the first TEDx was like I was so like nervous, and then like this is my lifetime, like it can be my brand and it can be in YouTube forever. So I need to really be perfect. And when it happened, like, wow, this is like nothing happens, nothing changes. So this second TEDx, I'm a little more very, very relaxed. I'm gonna just go and share my story. But the thing is, I'm not saying that TEDx is not useless. I'm gonna say, like, if you're really a business owner, you can't expect, oh, because of one TEDx, you have overnight success. You gotta do something about it.
No,
Yeah.
that's not going to happen, because I think it's also expectations. Before I gave the TEDx talk, I had no expectation. And then afterwards, when people were saying that, oh, wow, it's not like, okay, oh, wow, you got on TEDx stage, here's my money. No. It's just that people see you as more credible. That's I would say that's the only benefit I would say that I got so far. It's not that, okay, your business will take off, or no. So you still have to do other things.
So good. So good. I love that you guys are spilling the beans. And Colin, or how about yourself?
So one thing that I learned the moment that I stepped off the stage is, wow, this feels addictive. Although I've completed one TEDx, I am constantly saying to myself, how do I get back on? Because this, for a single speech, is a tremendous platform, and it does give you credibility. So in the back of my mind, when I watch mine now, I cringe a little bit, because as we watch ourselves, we know we forgot our thing, talk too fast, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Now it's like, I can't wait to get back on, because next time I want to really have a better story, and I wanted to tell this, because again, that credibility, it does open doors, not all the way, but enough for you to get your foot in there, enough for somebody to respond to your email or to call you back. So it's like, wow, I want to do it again, because it's such a tremendous platform. I can go speak at a conference, and if you're not at the conference, you're not going to hear it. I can go speak in university. If you're not there, you're not going to hear it. I spoke at your event last week. People that weren't there, they're not going to hear it. Right? So it's a tremendous platform. It's recognized worldwide. So, I can't wait to do mine. I'm looking forward to watching Dazzle's second TEDx, right? And yeah, my thing was this can be very addictive.
Mm, mm. You can
That's so
tell
true.
he has the speaker bug. Colin have that speaker bug, like it's so interesting. I was having a conversation with someone today as well about my speech. And when I got invited to speak at TED, I wasn't looking for it. When I was looking for it, I got rejected. I applied twice. Yeah, I literally went to the site, looked for speeches here in China, applied, and got rejected twice. Yeah, and it's very interesting how I even got connected with the first one, actually. Colin, you invited me to speak at a Juneteenth event. And at first I was like, oh, do I want to go to Shanghai this weekend? And what's not, and that's will be like, but you've been practicing this speaking course and you were looking for opportunity to speak. And I was like, okay, cool. And I said yes. And I went and I put a speech together and I delivered a speech and I recorded it and I put it on WeChat. And then someone saw the speech and be like, oh, Dino, I love your energy. We have a TED Talk coming up. This, and we would really love for you to be a speaker. I was like, okay. And then I said yes. Yeah. And then after just like that, so going through the process, it was a bit nerve-wracking. I have these high expectations. And at the end, it was like, oh wow, that was fun. That was really fun. I enjoyed the process of doing it. But the title of being a
Yeah.
TEDx speaker wasn't like, yeah, because I wasn't looking
Yeah.
for it at that particular point. And I would like to even ask you guys, like, what was your experience like, yeah, getting asked or getting qualified for the TEDx stage that you went on? How did you got that opportunity to speak at TED? I'm sure that's a
You
question
know,
that some of our listeners will be eager about.
like this, I wanted to actually share first because what I'm also experienced was totally opposite with what Dino experienced. So Dino first applied many times and like failed but got invited. For me, I was a public speaking mania. I was really everywhere in the stage, everywhere in the opportunity, but I never thought of particularly at the TEDx. And you remember I attended the Dino's TEDx event and I was doing networking with the hosts and the volunteers, and then maybe they talk about me, like, hey, Dasso has a really great energy, and then they invited me. So no, she referred me to other TEDx organizer. So I got invited to the TEDx. That was my first actually official invited TEDx. And then I was start preparing for 1 month. It was 1 month later, and then they text me, "Hey, we have to postpone another month." So I get okay. I waited another month, and it takes me, "Hey, I'm sorry, we have to postpone another month." So I waited. I waited 6 months, and it ended up got canceled. And I prepared, I prepared my speech. And since then, I got mad. I need to use this speech on the stage. And that since then, I began to apply. And that's how I got this actually second, which was my official first TEDx. I auditioned and I got into the TEDx speech. And then, so at that time, I literally cold mail everywhere I can reach. And then the first TEDx was the audition that I got in. And then the second TEDx place that I'm doing the day after tomorrow. Last year they told me, "Oh, sorry, we're filled, but we want to invite you next year." And then they keep their promise and invite me this year. So it was pretty opposite experience with but that very first canceled TEDx really fired me up.
Okay, so for me, the first one was I was doing some work in a school in Silicon Valley, and then so they told me, they said, "Oh, we have a TEDx event every year." I said, "Oh, okay. I would love to speak at your event." And then they said, "Sure, we'll connect you with the conference organizer." So then they connected me with the conference organizer. And when they started to call in speakers for proposals, I applied and then I got it. So it sounds very easy. But before that, so that was 2018 or 2019 maybe. And actually back in 2012, 2 years after I started my business, actually I did talk with a TEDx organizer in Singapore. At the time, people were talking about TEDx talks. I said, okay, I'll find out. So I talked with one organizer in Singapore. We had a coffee. After that, nothing happened. So I thought, okay, uh, that's it. So I will not actively look for it. And also back now you see that after so many years, Steve Jobs' words probably were right. He said, only when we look back, we can connect the dots. So I think 2012, 2 years starting my business, the timing was probably not right. Timing was not mature. By 2019, I think it was mature. The timing was right. So when the timing was right, then things happen for you. So that's where I got my first TEDx talk. And of course, for those who do want to give TEDx talks, I always say that go and apply. Don't think of it as something that's unreachable. It's very easy to reach. You just apply. And of course, sometimes timing is important as well. And the second TEDx talk was because the organizer, she saw me speaking at an event. She said, oh, I am organizing my very first TEDx event. And I would like you to become the speaker. I don't care what you talk about. I just want you to speak. So even though at the end their event was around technology and my topic was not about technology. So once you get one stage, it's easier to get a second one.
Yeah. So much nuggets, so much nuggets. And Colin, go ahead.
Yeah, so my story, I think it's interesting. I hope you guys do as well. I never really thought about becoming a TEDx speaker. I just wanted to be a speaker. I just wanted to get on stage, inspire others, get up there, have fun, try to relieve some pain. That's all I wanted to do. One of my fraternity brothers told me about TEDx years ago. And I was like, okay, that's not really my thing. But it was really because I was lacking the nation, right? I could not imagine. My imagination was low. I could imagine myself being on stage. It wasn't until I started looking at the stage and saying, hey, I want to do that too. So what I did, I really said, let me look at who was getting on stage. I want to say probably in 2019, that's where I said, one day I want to be a TEDx speaker. One day I'm going to be a TEDx speaker, but I wasn't doing anything to get closer to getting to the stage. And luckily, I firmly believe in asking questions. And one of my good friends here got on TEDx stage, I want to say last year. And when I saw him on stage, I saw his video. The first thing I said was, hey, good job. Then I said, how did you do it? And he told me, boom, 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 put me in contact with the organizer. So that was probably February of 2024. And he invited me to come to speak at an event the next month. Now I'm thinking that is the TEDx event. But due to schedules, travel, things like that, we couldn't ever link up. So I actually had my TEDx tryout in December, the last one of the year of 2024. And I didn't know until maybe a few days before that it was a tryout. I thought it was the actual thing, but I said, it's only 6 minutes and TEDx is much longer. So I couldn't understand why it was so short. It is TEDxX. Right? So when I found that out, it didn't take my nervousness away because now I'm saying, oh, now I must compete, right? Not just speak, but I must really compete. And it kind of helped me because when I speak, I like being I like being animated. I like really being into it. So I was able to go there, and I did a great 6 minute. I think it was great. They invited me to the big stage, so I did my six minutes. It was good. A few weeks later, I got the letter, right, saying, "Hey, we want to welcome you to the big stage." So mine started with just my imagination getting bigger, and most importantly, asking somebody who did it, "Hey, first of all, good job," and then how did you do it?
Awesome. These were such golden nuggets. I wish I had this fireside chat when I was so obsessed about being on a TEDx stage, because a few golden nuggets I got from this was, one, yeah, you gotta put yourself out there and start networking with people. Yeah, because when you network with these people, you never know, it could be an organizer for a TEDx event, and go to the site, and apply multiple times. Yeah, even though you get rejected the first, the second, the third time, yeah, the stars would start aligning eventually for you to get that yes. And find people like us who have already stand on the stage and ask us like, how did you do it? Yeah, like who do you know as well who you think I should be able to connect to? And that makes such a big difference because I don't see that there is one clear-cut path. Yeah, because that's a line going backwards. And I want to thank you guys so much for sharing these insights as I probe these questions out to you. And I see you've made it all the way to the end, so that means you're enjoying the conversation. Let's continue watching. Drop a few comments of what was your biggest golden nugget. We decided to split the conversation into 2 parts because of the length, so go ahead and check out part 2. This is where the speakers and myself answer the burning questions of all the attendees on the call, and there's some super juicy questions around the process, around how to get connected, where to start, which countries to do your TEDx talk in based on where you're located, all the good stuff, man. Go ahead and check out the thing, comment, subscribe, and do all the things you do on social media. Cheers.